All right, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about market testing. This will be the next phase of your product or service setup, and this is very important and key because this is kind of leading into eventually getting into the marketing and the fun campaigns that we're going to be creating later on in class. All right, so the testing phases that are very important to go through is the product to service testing, the consumer testing, and the comparative testing. Now, these processes work specifically with the product or service that you're working on. Product and service testing is ensuring that the product is safe. It functions as it needs to. There's no contingencies or worries about it, and then it will do what is adequate instead of the product. Service testing is ensuring that the service can be provided in a timely fashion, that it's effective, that you've put it through the process of beta testing it to ensure that it actually can you can actually fulfill the service needed. Consumer testing, when you move into that phase of that, will be more of touching on how consumers will work based off of your product or service, as far as how they like it, with their feedback, etc., just so you can kind of get an idea of who your customer base is going to be. And then comparative testing is essentially looking at competition and what will you have to worry about in the competitive market of your testing phase. So why is market testing important? It's simple. You can find out what works before jumping into any design or as a designated market. This ensures that your product works, functions, there's no issues to it, and that the consumers that you're aiming towards, as far as the customer base, it will be attached and attracted to your specific product or service. Many companies have pushed this out too quickly. Samsung Galaxy did it a few years back as far as their batteries, and they essentially created exploding and burning phones. So this is the phase where you can find out and stress test and ensure that everything you're doing is right and that you won't have these issues later on. It also allows you to show interest into an existing market so you can create a need of what you're trying to test. This is going through the focus testing or the market focus or the any consumer-based testing that you do to ensure that your customer base will want this and that the market that you're entering will actually adhere to what you're trying to push out there. You can test decisions before fully exposing them to the market audience, the target audience. You can try out different marketing campaigns, ad campaigns, commercials, slogans, logos, anything attached to your company. You can give it a try out and like showcase before you actually do your full-on launch of the product or service. You can get consumer feedback, you can get other businesses feedback, you can look at a bunch of different things to ensure like everything is going the way you would like it to, so that way you can save time and money later on. And by, of course, market testing your product or service, you're going to save yourself a ton of time and money. Very simple fact that you'll work out all these kinks before you push it out. This would also alleviate any type of bad press release or PR, so then ensure that you don't have any faulty issues that go along with your product or service. If you launch prematurely and there's any issues, it's going to showcase and be a bad thing for you. Now, testing in the initial phase, the initial process, you want to test on a smaller scale. You want to be very, very selective with how you're scoping this to make it do it. So you limit the scope of the product or service testing. You use a small group of people, a small market testing area, a small sandbox, so to speak, to ensure like everything works the way you need to. You want to get direct feedback from people you trust, and you want a true opinion, so you can get actually like a real live understanding of what people look at as far as the product and service, and ensure like you're getting actual like tried and true feedback from people. You want to try to limit the cost and time of the initial testing, because the initial testing phase is kind of quick. You want to make sure that you don't, elongate this to be a very time-consuming, and costly process, because you want to just get an understanding of, ensure that your product or service will actually be something that people want to do. Once you figure that out, you can move into the next phase, which is testing more on a target market. Once you get honest feedback and everything seems like it would be going the way it needs to, that's when you can start actually getting more of research-based feedback, whether using focus groups, beta tests, etc., on specific people or target markets to ensure that your product or service will sell. When you do this, you can listen to the feedback and get a true understanding from the customer base on what they think of your product or service, and then you can make adjustments based on that. In this phase, you can also conduct quantitative research, which is essentially statistical data, surveys, focus groups, to ensure that you're getting a high yield percentage on what you're looking to do. And that can be, like 60% of the focus group agreed that they like this product for these reasons, 80% said they would buy it for this reasons, etc. And then from this, you can make adjustments based on the findings. From the statistical analysis as you do, you can figure out exactly what your customer base likes, dislikes, or wants in the products or services that you're doing. Once you get through that, and like I said, testing is a never-ending process. You're going to be doing this from conception all the way through as long as your company is thriving. And what you want to make sure you do is never take constructive criticism or negative feedback personally. These are not things to attack you personally. These are just there. You either can take them constructively and make adjustments to it, or you can just let it roll off your back and move on. You don't want to let your personal bias corrupt any of your testing. I mean, this is your company. This is your blood that's running through this company. You don't want to interject your own personal thought process into the research you do, because it can skew the data and give you a false perception of what you're looking to actually get into. I mean, you want to will your company into success, but if you're trying to push a product or service that's not going to be successful, you need to know that to make adjustments, changes, or to scrap it altogether. And so you can't let your personal bias and investment to take effect of that. You don't want to rush this process either. The initial launch is very crucial. A solid, good launch is essential for a company to thrive. If you have a really bad or pathetic turnout or a bad press release that goes along with it, it can ruin your company very, very quickly. And just remember that you'll be adjusting your company for the entire lifespan of it. So some examples that you can do for market testing is participating in events at local organizations or for test consumer interests. You can go to Comic Cons, Black Hats, DEF CONs. You can go to farmers markets. You can go to different conventions, sporting outings, all those fun things. Anything where a group of people that match your market demographic are at is somewhere you want to go to consumer test your product or service. You can give away prototypes if it's cost effective to get people to answer questionnaires and get feedback directly for it. Be smart about this. I mean, if your product or service costs hundreds or thousands of dollars, do not start giving away prototypes to people for simple feedback. But if you're making like small widgets that are like small little spinners that are like 50 cents a piece, by all means, hand them out and figure out what people like and don't like about it. You can use social media to solicit ideas from friends and family online or just in general. Social media is a huge marketing platform that you can reach a lot of people in a very quick piece of time, along with everybody's on social media typically. So you can usually get a pretty large audience going that route. You want to ensure that you have a centralized website too that has all the product or service description information on it. So if people want to get specific information on what you have, it's there and available to you. You want to make sure it looks professional, it works correctly, and that it's very easy to navigate so people don't have to bounce around to try to figure out something. Running beta tests for your service is a good idea, and you can offer discounts in exchange for feedback on this. When you're just starting out in the service industry, you want to beta test and ensure that you're being efficient, then that you're taking care of your customers correctly. So when you're doing this new and you're just trying to figure out the process, offering some slight discounts in order to fine tune what you're doing can be very helpful as far as you and the company that's working with you. Also, if you're working if you have a brick and mortar location or you have a certain region or demographic that you're working into as far as geographically, you can send postcards to select areas with a link to the outline survey of your business to figure that out as well. Or you can canvass the area as far as putting up flyers, or just try to solicit feedback from local businesses if they'll allow you to. But it's good to get if you're looking for a specific demographic area in a geographic region, then this is a good way of figuring out who are going to be your customer base within the region that you're in. And we won't go with the activities because it's not needed. But the key fact and the key thing you want to focus on is the testing phase, is getting that just right. So this specific week in the assignment, you will be focusing on that area. So, and that will conclude that lecture for today. And I look forward to discussing this further. Have a great day.